box opening time, and I'm really excited to say that the U.S. Postal Service does have one really good thing, which is called "If it fits, it ships." These are the Houdaille shocks, the old school friction shocks that I've been looking for. And I found them on Facebook Marketplace in Illinois. Maybe it was Craigslist. I can't remember. Either way, found them online. They came all the way from Illinois. And normal shipping, these things are heavy. These things are heavy. I don't know how he assembled this, but it's a really nice box. I think it all got glued together. Oh Lord. Wow, he took his time with this. But this is probably about 35 pounds, and regular shipping for that would be real expensive. So I'm very thankful for "If it fits, it ships." So I'm going to find a way to pry. Oh, he's got little nails in here. So I'm going to find a way to pry this open. Want to see a thank you to Mr. Bash, who sold me these. Look at this beautiful job of boxing that he did. Earl, this I think probably was the bottom, but whatever, they're bolted to this surface. Even this one was, but it must have come loose during shipping. That's okay, it's perfectly, kept in place with some styrofoam. But yeah, this looks great. We got two front, two rear. The fronts are mounted on the side of the frame. So that's this one and this one. And the rears are mounted on the bottom of the frame, this one and this one. And yeah, so these are the old school knee action friction shocks that would have originally come on the car. I think they went to the tubular shocks, I think starting in 49 or something like that. But this was what they were. And I believe Ferraris had these for an awfully long time as well. So yeah, so looking forward to getting these bolted on. Looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, enough to do 2. I'll find some replacements. I'll find the parts numbers for those. And yeah, we'll get these mounted onto the frame and hooked up to the axle members with the, I got to buy the shackles that connect the two of them. But the front two, these, mount, or the shackles go through here and then connect to the perch pins on the front radius arm. And then the rear, the shackles connect to 2 holes in the rear radius arms that we just put on. And I'll be showing you those in a future video when I get the shackles and, like I said, a couple more bolts and nuts. All right. Fun opening. And it creaks like a coffin. Whoa. We're going to install the knee action shock absorbers now. There are 4 of them, 1 on each corner. One thing I did have difficulty finding was the mounting point, but now that I know what I'm looking for, it's easy. You're looking for these square holes here, and there are matching nuts or bolts that have a squared boss on the inside of them. So I'm gonna get that inside of there. This one's gonna be difficult because it's up underneath that frame. Okay, so now that square is in, it's gonna lock itself in. I'm going to put anti-seize on it, of course, to make sure that when and if we want to remove this, it's going to come off easily. That one is now lost forever. There it is. having such small fingers as I do. It's amazing how fat-fingered I can be. All right. Now, the way I'm installing these, the way these work is that there are diaphragms inside of here that it's oil filled through this vent right here, this fill port here. And what happens is you hit a shock, and this wants to come up, this arm wants to move, that oil resists that movement. So it creates a little damping effect. There we go. Uh-oh, I think my shock absorbers are the wrong ones. As you can see, I got the front suspension shocks adjusted. Just had to cut out a little bit of the hole here to make on the shock to make it match up with the holes on the frame, and they're in. Unfortunately, this one I think I need to be sent off to rebuild because it doesn't move, so I can send that off for rebuilding, and once it comes back, we'll get it hooked up to the suspension. We're going to need to install two special bolts that have a square boss coming out from underneath the head to fit into the square cutout that's there. You got to make sure you have the right one lined up the correct way so that your shock link can mate up correctly. Now, before I put this on, I'll probably put it inside the nut. Before I put this on, just like with everything, I'm going to put just a little bit of anti-seize inside the inside the nut, so that if I want to get it off later, this being one of those very parts that's exposed to a lot of dirt, grime, water, everything, it could rust very easily. So if I want to get it off, I want to get it off easily. That's stuck on. You hear that oil squeezing back and forth between the diaphragms? That's what's resisting but allowing the shock absorption. And now the shock links. Notice that they are tapered. So you want to make sure that you're putting it in the correct end of the hole, which this is the larger diameter here, and on the opposite side is the smaller diameter. Same for the shock arm. So we'll get the lower one on first, which goes through there. Nut on, which, you know what, in hindsight, this may have been easier to do without the wheel and tire on. But here we are. God, for small hands. You're not really coming in handy right now. Haha, handy. Okay, that's on for now. Now we'll raise this up, lower the shock arm where it needs to be for us to install it. Now that it's in position, I'm going to take this back off and feed them in both at the same time. Bottom hole, upper hole, make it fit. There we go. Well, I think this wheel and tire is going to have to come off for me to be able to tighten that. It's just too much in the way. But that's okay. It needs to come off anyway so I can reroute my parking brake cable. It needs to go underneath. Stiff arm. Okay, well, that's how you install it. Now I'll just get busy doing that on the rest of the 4. I have a problem. Let me show you. This side fits lovely, even though it looks like it might be a little bit angled, right? Yeah, I go over to do the other side, and it won't reach. This is off. Now, I don't know why this would be, but I suspect that the leaf spring is off-centered and it only goes on one way. I don't know why that would be. I don't know why they would make it that way. But as you can tell, if you look at the pumpkin here as compared to the frame, it's not centered. And if the frame were a little more that way, it would make it so that the angle of that shock absorber link was straight, and this one will reach. Now, if you recall the previous video that I made of getting the leaf spring onto the axles, we had to use a John Deere tractor to smush it down. Well, having applied my engineering brain to this, we have created a tool right here. What we did was we took a piece of 1-inch pipe and we smushed one end and we shoved it in there into the leaf spring, crotch of that curve. And on the other end, we have 7/8 inch all thread that I ground down to a chisel, and it's going into the crotch of that end of the leaf spring. And here we have a 7/8 bolt that we can use to thread that all thread out. And of course, having learned from my previous really tight nut turning, there's anti-seize on that. So right now it's fitted into the length that it should be. Now what I'm doing here is I am forcing the leaf spring to stay as wide as it is. I'm going to crank it out a little bit more to put some extra tension on it, because when the weight comes off of this, it might want to expand back in. So I want to keep it at this length. What I need to do, and this might solve another problem as well. This might explain to me why these bolts, I'm not able to actually thread them on far enough to get a cotter pin in. And it might be because this leaf spring needs to be reversed. I don't know if it's gonna solve it, but we're gonna do it anyway. Oh, when I discovered this, oh, did I have nightmares. I was thinking I was gonna have to take everything back apart that I've done just to get this leaf spring on. But I think this bar is the solution. So what you need to do is take the clamp nuts off, and then we're gonna raise the frame up, because it's the only thing, the leaf spring is the only thing that's actually holding the frame up back here. So we're gonna put it up and put it on jacks, and then we're going to remove the leaf spring from the brackets on both sides, rotate it 180 degrees, and put it back in and see if that solves the problem. Let's see. As you can see, that fixed the situation, and now we can get our shock absorber connected, and that makes all 4 of the shocks at least connected to the frame, 3 of them connected to the suspension, and 1 of them needing to go off for repair. Thanks for joining me.